Game faces, people. Game faces.
Game faces. You ready? Is your game face on? You drinking the seltzer?
Seltzer. I don't know.
I got some seltzer too.
I feel like it like clears out the airways in the throat, the bubbles. It might just be
the bubbles
in my head though. Yeah.
I think that's completely in your head. I don't think that's how it works.
Okay. I just feel like it just like clears out my palate. Like my throat feels like more clear. I don't know. Yeah, it might just be.
I mean, I feel like it, like when you drink liquid, it does clear your throat, but I don't know if it like what do you say it does? It like opens something?
Yeah, it just opens up that airway. I mean, not
the bubbles,
breathing, but the bubbles. Like
I don't think it's supposed to work like that. I can breathe better when I drink seltzer.
You know the scrubbing bubbles commercial, like that cleaner, when the bubbles would just go around and clean everything out?
Like they're going around like a full pipe. That's just the drain, but they're like kind of like going around.
That's what I feel like seltzer does for my voice box.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Nick. And I'm Josh.
And this is the PUDs Podcast.
What's up, brother?
Oh, you're coming in.
I'm in.
Damn. Yeah, you're on fire tonight. You're on fire. You're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. It's been a busy week, so I'm excited to break it up a little bit with this podcast.
Yeah, same over here. It's been a crazy week to say the least. So I'm looking forward to getting on and just chatting with you and chatting with a fun guest. This guest was actually your idea too, so I'm stoked.
Yeah, it is gonna be fun. But enough about the guest. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
What's up with you? How was Meme? How was Meme Claire in the beach?
Meme Claire is doing well, and this past weekend I hung around. I did not go hiking, though. I guess technically you could say I went on a trail around Statuesque Point. But had a nice weekend hanging at home, and we hadn't seen Meme Claire in a little bit, my mom. So on Saturday we actually got a fairly early start. I think we left here around like 9:30, but decided we'd head down to Newport and sort of make our way over to East Matunic Beach and check out Muse Tavern, which is our old URI haunt, I guess. And my mom actually gave us a gift certificate there for Christmas too, so we figured we use that well down there. But we made our way once again, at least for me and Ryland, to Statuesque Point Wildlife Refuge down in Middletown. It's kind of on that like southeastern corner of sort of Newport and Middletown, the island of Newport, the town of Middletown. For those of you that don't know Rhode Island, Newport is its own little township that I feel like everybody thinks of when they think of Newport. But Newport actually has 3 different towns on it: Portsmouth, Middletown, Newport. But in any event, we had checked it out again and went around half of the loop trail that I'd done with Ryland previously that sort of goes around the point, but really pretty down there. I had my camera with me, and it wasn't as breezy. It was chilly, but it wasn't that bad compared to how cold it's been the past week. It was probably like in the mid 30s, not super windy, and had really nice views out, like kind of across. You can see like Sakana Point and like Little Compton, and could see across to Tiverton. I'm sure your area sort of over there. Across the Sakana River.
Dude.
Yeah, I could see you out there. Could see you out there doing things.
No, not shoveling. Whatever.
Walking down your icy driveway.
No, I'm gonna get into what I was doing.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, but and then across the way you can sort of see Newport and the cliffs and the cliff walk and all the mansions. So we had a bunch of fun down there, and I'll have to share out some photos too when I get to editing them and going through them. But evidently the deer there like aren't afraid of people at all. So I got within like literally 2 feet of one of the deer. It was just like eating grass, staring at me. So I don't know what the deal is. If I'm assuming they can't be hunted because it is a national wildlife refuge. It's like federal land down there. Primarily, I think people go there to like view birds and snowy owls and cool things like that. But there were deer just eating grass, and I had like my 24 millimeter lens on, and I just kept getting closer to it. And I'm like, I'm sure it's gonna run away at some point, but I just kept getting closer and closer. And I got some sick shots of it, like literally just staring me down. I think this was sort of a little deer, and there was maybe like I guess you would call it a herd of deer. Nearby, there was probably like, I don't know, 8 or 9 of them that I couldn't get as close to. They seemed a little bit more leery of my movements. But that was pretty wild, dude. That was a lot of fun.
Sick, dude. That's super sick.
Yeah, and Ryland, I think walked / jogged basically like, I don't know, 2/3 of a mile or something on the trail. We kept having to tell her to slow down, and then she was tired and was in her stroller. But that was fun. And from there we made our way down to East Matunic State Beach. Took a little walk. It was much nippier down there. It was pretty windy and stuff. And it was kind of cool to see there was like a bunch of snow on the beach, which I feel like I don't think of seeing at the beach much, but just a testament to how cold sort of those temperatures were a few weeks ago. Got some fun pictures down there, and then made our way over to Muse. And that pretty much rounded out Saturday. And then Sunday, got out ice fishing with a friend of the podcast, Wilkie, and my buddy Tebow. So we had a lot of fun. We went to Maspinock in Hopkinton, and yeah, there was plenty of ice for it to be safe. Hopefully this year, knock on wood. I know we have a little bit of rain in the forecast, but it looks like generally staying cold. But yeah, there was like probably close to a foot of ice on one of the holes I chopped. So it quickly is going from like we were wanted ice to being like, okay, this is enough ice. Like, especially if you're chopping with a chisel like we are, we got all our stuff. I believe Tebow has equipment that was passed to him from his grandfather, and I've got a mix of like my uncle's and my dad's stuff. But we had a fun day. We all caught fish. Poor Wilkie did not get a fish. He's kind of he's learning the technique and stuff. He did chop some holes, so we got a full experience from that. There's nothing like ice fishing. It says ice fishing, like chopping a hole through 9 inches of ice with a chisel. So he got his experience there. But we had a really fun day out there. Temperatures weren't too bad. Yeah, it was a good time. I got a pretty decent bass. Tebow got like a nice 3-pound bass, and we had fun.
Wow.
That pretty much rounded out the weekend.
Sweet.
What about you, man? What were you up to?
Dude, I got gout.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
It was
geez.
a terrible weekend. It was horrible.
How does that happen?
I have I've never been more disappointed in myself and my body than I was this past weekend, because let me tell you.
I don't even know what that is, to be honest. I'll let you talk. I don't even know what it is.
So gout, like, basically what happens is your body has excess uric acid for whatever reason.
What is that?
It's something that is supposed to be filtered out by your kidneys, basically, and you just like, piss it out.
Okay.
But what happens is now, when there's so much of it, it collects in like your joints, and most commonly it collects in like the joint of your big toe.
Okay.
And it's like crystallizes, and then it's extremely painful to walk around.
Ouch.
And that was my weekend, dude.
Ouch.
Yeah. Went to Jeremiah. I woke up on Saturday morning, dude. I'm like, damn, what happened to my foot? It's like, I don't remember stubbing my toe.
So it just comes on that suddenly, where it just crystallizes, and then all of a sudden it hurts like hell?
Immediately. It was like,
wow.
Overnight. I woke up the next morning thinking like, how could I have hurt myself? Did I strain it? Did I break my toe? Like, what happened? And then, yeah, it was like Saturday, just limping around. Sunday, terrible. Monday, the worst. So then I finally like called the doctor on Monday. They're like, "Oh, we can see you on like February 4th." And I said, "February 4th?
No.
Like next week?"
Like, I'm in pain here.
She was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Miss, I'm sorry. Can you please, please,
Yeah.
you gotta figure something out for me." So they got me in there that day, and the doctor was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Yeah, have you been eating any like liver or hard shellfish?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
He's like, "What about you've been drinking beer?" I said, "I haven't had a beer probably since New Year's Eve." Like, he's like, "Oh yeah, well, those are like the common things, but it's definitely gout. So you just got to do some blood work and kind of got to deal with it for right now. And then once we get the blood work back, we can help you so that it doesn't like reoccur." And I'm like, terrible, dude.
Oh, so did it go away already? Did they give you anything to get rid of the pain, or you're just dealing with your big toe hurting like that?
Yeah, no, it's much better now. It's much better now. But
so it doesn't last like when.
Yeah, I mean it can, but like
yours thankfully went away.
3 days of like.
Ouch.
I've rolled my ankle about 1 million times, and I can at least walk around on it.
Yeah, your big toe would be tough.
I played a lot of video games this weekend, Nick. I did not want to walk around, so I just laid in bed and played Assassin's Creed for like hours.
No, I broke playing soccer. It's funny. I forgot about this. You like are harkening old memories, but I broke like what would it be? The toe to the right of your big toe. I don't know what you call
I
that.
don't know.
Like your index
Pointer.
toe, basically. Yeah, your
Index
pointer toe. But I broke that before, and it's amazing. Like you don't think about these things and how much you use them.
Oh, yeah,
And I remember I was limping around for a while with that. Like you don't realize they're like, oh, I do use that toe like a lot. But I remember kind of being like, I feel like my right foot, I still walk because I think I was just kicking a ball or something. I don't know if I kicked someone's cleat or something and caught it weird and like somehow it bent it back. But in any event, I remember being acutely aware of, you're like, oh crap, I do. It's kind of like if you broke like your pinky toe, like you need, I think you're big in your pinky toe. You like really need, like you use them when you walk.
Yeah. So rough.
Damn,
rough
dude.
Sailing.
Well,
but much better now. And hopefully it'll never happen again. But it's crazy because I've been eating like since the first, dude. New Year's resolution, eat clean, all that stuff. So I've been eating clean, and it's like
your body's like, screw you.
and it's like gout's like such an old man. It's like an old man.
It does. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like when you first mentioned it, you're like, I got the gout.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay,
gout. Yeah, it's just like it sounds like such an old man like thing. So I'm like, this
I guess
is
it
ridiculous.
happens. Guess it can happen to any of us then.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, so that was it, man.
Yeah.
You ready to get into the music moment or what?
Before we do that, I did have one thing. So it's fun now. I'm getting reviews and stuff from when people are listening to our podcast, and I'm thankful. And this is a shout out to Mike from the Slasher podcast. But he was listening to our podcast on I guess the last episode when I kind of was recapping about the AMC huts, and you were kind of asking questions and stuff. So he was saying that he believes the main reason they keep those stoves lit in the AMC huts during the winter is actually mostly to just keep them dry, to avoid things getting like musty and like rotting and stuff like that. Which makes total sense. Yeah, mostly just to keep them dry, keep the humidity out. I'm sure like obviously they do use it to melt water and stuff, but I would imagine kind of why they probably keep caretakers and stuff in some of those houses, some of the cabins is just to kind of keep that lit and make sure that they stay dry, because you think of too, like if you got people coming in and out of there in the winter, we all have like wet snow covered clothes on or sweaty clothes. So if you didn't have a stove or something going in there, the humidity would probably just build up and frost up everything. And then you think by the springtime it thaws out, everything's wet and damp. So it actually makes a lot of sense that they would actually just have those little stoves to really just keep things dry.
My concern would be just get a little bit of a bigger one and then heat
again,
that bad boy up.
It's funny too, because I had several people mention as well that it was cool to hear like all the questions you were asking. And I was saying it's just a different perspective on things. And hopefully we can get someone from like the AMC hut system or something on eventually to chat about it and sort of those logistics. You thought of a lot of stuff that I didn't think of, and I'm like the one who even stayed there. So we're also pitching maybe like in the spring, maybe we can get up to Lonesome Lake Hut or Zealand or something. And
I would love to
do a group trip and kind of get up there and hang out. So TBD, we'll see what happens. But yeah, thank you, Mike, for sort of mentioning that and reaching out. We appreciate anything, any comments or anything that anybody has on our episodes, of corrections, or even this was more just like as a matter of fact sort of thing. But we appreciate it, and we're always open to that if you want to reach out on the socials or messages through the link that's with details, or just text me if you happen to know me and correct us. I definitely don't take offense if you want to add details and stuff, and I will go out of my way to shout it out.
We love engagement, all engagement.
Yes, we do.
Just bring it.
Negative too?
I'll take it.
I don't know.
I'll take it.
All right. No, all press is good press, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But anyways, I think that's all I had. If I want to get into the next music moment.
All right, man. Let's get into the music moment.
All righty. So this week I jumped the gun a little bit. This album technically isn't out yet.
Shush. I gotta do a read first.
All right. Sorry. Definitely
Next music moment. Shush.
Okay, I'm shushed. I'll shush now. Sorry, Impact Botanicals. I'm shushing now.
As you just heard, Nick's music moment is brought to you by Impact Botanicals. Are you ready to harness the power of plants and revolutionize your body care routine? Well, look no further than Impact Botanicals. We're thrilled to recommend their Working Hands Balm and Recovery Aid for all your skin and muscle care needs. If you're dealing with dry, cracked, or calloused skin, the Working Hands Balm is your new best friend. Using the healing power of comfrey and calendula, it quickly restores your skin to its best condition and is ideal for those of us who are tough on our equipment. But that's not all. For those sore muscles and joints after a strenuous day, Recovery Aid is here to help. This complex formula is packed with anti-inflammatory herbs that repair damaged tissue and expedite your recovery. Best of all, it's CBD-free and most effective when used regularly. Impact Botanicals products are not just good for you, they're good for the planet too. All their products are organic, produced with solar power, and with every purchase, they remove a pound of plastic from nature and convert it into energy. So if you're ready to transform your body care routine, check out Impact Botanicals today at myimpactbotanicals.com, and you can use promo code PUDS, that's PUDS, for 20% off your order. myimpactbotanicals.com, promo code PUDS for 20% off your order.
All right, man. I guess I was just really excited. Really excited tonight. I jumped the gun on that, man, completely. You think I would know by now.
You sure did. That's all right.
I'm inexperienced. I'm still working on podcasting. We'll get it figured out eventually.
It's usually me that jumps the gun, too.
It is usually. Any hoots. So yeah, this week I did jump the gun a little bit, but actually by the time this episode comes out, the album will be coming out, I think, within a week. But for this week, I have Sharon Van Etten in the... It's a weird, Etten's kind of an interesting, I haven't said her last name out loud, but Sharon Van Etten in the Attachment Theory by Sharon Van Etten. And that should be coming out on February 7th of this year. So basically in like a week or so. But this album, while not fully released yet, they've dropped the singles Afterlife, Trouble, and Southern Life. And I'm really enjoying it. I don't know exactly. This is one of those things where I get mixed up between whether I heard it on Sirius or every once in a while, I'll look at like Apple Music suggestions for similar artists. So it was like one of those things. But basically, Sharon Van Etten's an American singer, songwriter. She's also an actress from New Jersey. And apparently she resides around Brooklyn, New York, and kind of has lived mostly generally in the Northeast and that sort of metro area most of her life, with a brief detour in Tennessee, it sounds like. She's also starred in the Netflix series The QA and the reboot of Twin Peaks. So she's both basically an actress and stars in both of those shows. And I don't know. Again, I feel like as I keep going through more of these albums, like I run out of adjectives. Like I need to get like a thesaurus or something to describe things. But it's just good music. Like I'd say it's like sort of pop progressive, kind of in that vein. It's produced by, I believe, one of the old Eurythmics producers. So like Annie Lennox's producer. And I guess this album was a little bit different than her past work. And this is funny, as I was looking it up, I just haven't researched her a ton. But she has a bunch of albums and a bunch of solo albums, which I'll have to go back through the catalog and listen to them. It seems like a lot of them are pretty acclaimed. But this is the first album that she actually wrote in collaboration with a band, with two other people, it sounds like in this case, which was kind of a new journey for her. And it sounds like she's sort of trying to start off fresh, just with sort of new concepts and sort of new ideas. And I'm really enjoying these three singles. I think it'll probably do pretty well when it does come out. It seems like she's already sort of a thing. I thought maybe I was stumbling upon something that was new, but I'll have to go through sort of her past discography and give it a listen. But that's Sharon Van Etten in the Attachment Theory by Sharon Van Etten. Check it out. Do we have I think we have a Josh's Jazzy tonight, right? After we've been on a drought. We've been on a drought.
And then now I got a bucket full for you.
Excellent.
So I was listening to, do you remember Eagle Eye Cherry?
Yes.
Dude, so I was listening to Eagle Eye Cherry. Obviously, Save Tonight.
Yeah.
And
Save Tonight.
Yeah. Great song. Fantastic song. Probably
on tomorrow.
We got to do that one hit wonder list, dude. We got to do that at some point. But so I went down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out what happened to to this guy.
There's got to be other good songs they wrote.
But yeah, so he actually just released an album like last year or the year before. But it's funny that you were talking about that your other music moment person being an actress. I can't say her last name, so I'm not even going to try to say it. But because he was also an actor. He was in Born on the 4th of July. He was in the show called South Beach that was on NBC for a little while before he got back into his music. But that album that Save Tonight was on, that was Desireless, that actually was his most popular album. He went gold and platinum on that album, and he released a few more after that, but just really never kind of got back to.
Never got back there.
Yeah.
When was that, by the way? Was that like early
1997.
97. Okay. I would have thought it was later than that.
I feel like it didn't get. Yeah, you know what I mean. That song. I feel like that song didn't catch on until like.
Yeah.
The mid 2000s. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But yeah, Save Tonight is obviously the big single off of that song. He just released an album in 2023 called Back on Track. That was his first album in like the last 5 years or so, and like 25 years from his first album. So I think he was just on tour and things like that. But I don't know why I went down that rabbit hole. But that song's good. Save Tonight's a good song.
That was a lot triggered off of that one song. I'm not gonna lie.
It really was.
Like an hour later, Josh is just like, Mel's like, you need to go to bed.
I gotta
figure this out.
And the fun fact is, that's his actual name is Eagle Eye.
What?
That's his birth name. Is Eagle Eye.
Really?
It's Eagle Eye Lanu Cherry.
Huh. Real? That's interesting.
Indeed.
Oh
man.
Boy.
But yeah, that's it. Eagle Eye Cherry, Save Tonight.
Cool, man. Well, you ready to get into our guest segment we got coming up here?
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm excited.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so tonight we are joined by a very special guest. Tonight we have Tricia Case with us. She is the manager of the Notch Hostel over in Woodstock, New Hampshire. Tricia, welcome on to the podcast. So happy to have you on.
Thank you.
So I don't know if you've listened to the podcast at all. I don't like to assume that anybody has, so I don't know if you've listened at all, but we obviously talk a lot about hiking. So before we get into the hostel itself, you want to give us kind of a little introduction about yourself and maybe your hiking background?
Sure. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a lag here from you guys, but I'm closing all my other tabs so that hopefully.
Okay, no worries. I can't tell. It might be on
That's
Josh's side actually, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, did you just ask me to introduce myself?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am Tricia. My trail name is Pearl, which I usually use in the summertime when the Thru-Hikers are here. I've been full-time manager at the Notch Hostel for just about 3 years, and I've been hiking in the White Mountains since I was a teenager, so since like the early 2000s.
Awesome. Did you grow up in New Hampshire, or did you sort of find your way up here?
I grew up in Haverhill, Mass, so right on the New Hampshire line. And like a lot of people, we would come up here on weekends. My dad had a hunting camp in Alton, in the lakes area.
Okay.
So we'd be up there a lot, and we'd go hiking. Lots of little trips, and then once I got a little older, I think around 2015 was when I started coming up here a lot.
That's awesome. So you said you're a thru-hiker?
Yeah. I thru-hiked the long trail in 2018. That was my first longer hike. And I hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2020. Thru-hiked it.
That's awesome. So what got you into doing that? Well, I guess let's start with the basic. What kind of got you into hiking to begin with?
My dad. I think I never got into hunting, but he's just really knowledgeable about the outdoors. I used to love walking around with him. He could point out where deer lived or had been. He knew a lot about the plant and animal life. He knew a lot about the mountains. So I always just loved walking around the woods with my dad. That's definitely how it started.
That's awesome. I would imagine too, like hunting in New Hampshire, you must have to have a pretty good idea of navigation skills and getting off trail and be able to sort of get back to where you parked your car and whatnot and all that good stuff. So it seems like they kind of go hand in hand from that. Is there any sort of like favorite childhood sort of memories or hikes that you sort of have doing with your dad, or like something that maybe gave you the bug a little bit?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. He wasn't really like a big, like, he wasn't hiking the 4,000 footers, like that wasn't really what was interesting to him. But I started to want to do that. So I think I was probably 15 or 16. And I think we just decided on a whim, we didn't really look into it, to hike Madison. And
Nice.
we were going to backpack. We were just going to camp, but we didn't look at where we could or should camp. He was just like, it's the woods, we can set up wherever. So I just remember we got a mile or two up. I don't even remember what trail it was, but we ran out of water that quickly. And somebody else came along the trail, was chatting with us, and was just like, maybe you guys should turn around. It doesn't really seem like you know what you're doing. And he was kind of grumbly about it, but he was like, yeah, let's not do this. This isn't a great idea. So that is a funny story to tell about how I got the bug, right? Because it didn't go very well, but still, I mean, that's like the first one I remember. So it still worked on me like that, I guess.
So then what led you now to going and getting into thru-hiking?
Man, I've just wanted to thru-hike ever since I was a kid. I heard about the Appalachian Trail. I don't know, I was maybe 10 or 11. My dad probably told me about it. And I wanted to do it ever since then. And then I guess it was like I was in grad school in 2018. That's when I did the long trail. And I thought, okay, I can do this between semesters. I can fit the long trail in a summer.
Okay. And
if I still want to thru-hike the AT after that, then I'll do it. But I figured that would be a test, like a month-long hike. And then if that went well, I would do the 6-month-long hike.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I imagine, too, you can kind of get your bearings a little bit and test your gear and sort of get your familiarity with being on trails, setting up camp, getting water, getting food, and doing, essentially, I would imagine it's the same stuff that you're going to be doing along the AT. It's just in a smaller bite of it rather than taking on the entire AT all at once.
Yeah, exactly. And it overlaps with the AT for 100 miles. So that's really fun because you get to, and it was during thru-hiker season. So I got to meet all these AT thru-hikers, and it was just more motivation, I just really wanted to keep going. I wanted to go to Georgia with them, the southbound hikers.
And
that's awesome.
In Vermont, like, is it from the Vermont border up to like Killington? It splits off, something like that. The AT and the
long trail, right around Killington.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I was curious. I always get mixed up whether it's like that or if it's after Ellen and Abraham. So that's good to know.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm having trouble remembering, but it's right around Killington. I think it swings east, the AT, and then the long trail just keeps going straight up north.
Yeah, that one always sticks. And we did Killington like 3 or 4 years ago now, but always, I remember Pico Peak or Pico Peak. Like we kept calling it Pico de Gallo the whole time, but it always sticks in my head because I think there's like a shelter there, and like nearby there's like a sign that says like Pico or Pico is like famous for porcupines, and to be careful for your dogs, which is like, it's just a very, I know there's porcupines like everywhere in the Northeast, but it just seemed very odd that there's that many, that there's a sign that they actually call out to like watch out for porcupines if you have a dog. Like there must be an inordinately large population or something up there. So I just remember that sign every time I think of Killington.
Yeah, that sticks with me too. And I think you could see like the porcupine damage on the edges of the shelters and privies over there.
What do they like, eat it? They just eat wood or something?
I think they chew on it.
Oh, okay. That's a new one.
Don't actually know. I've heard that they like the salt from the hiker's skin. So like that they'll chew on stuff if people have been sitting there or laying there. I don't know if that's true.
Interesting. No, that's fine. It's more than I know. We'll have to dig this one up and fact check.
You're the porcupine expert now.
Yeah. Very cool. So how was your experience hiking the AT? And I guess how was your experience hiking the long trail too?
They were great. I mean, I would just wish I was thru-hiking all the time. I wish I could afford it. And, it just, it's hard to sustain that. But I loved the long trail. It was really hard, and it was what I was looking for. I really wanted to do something alone. So I went south on the long trail, which at least for the first big chunk, I was not really around many people.
Okay.
So that was cool. I felt a lot more confident after that. And then the AT, was like a party in compared to the long trail. I met a bunch of people. I ended up with a big trail family.
Wow.
It was just great. It was so much fun.
That's awesome.
What was your favorite part of the AT? Or parts, I guess. I don't know if it's hard to know.
I mean, I think that the whites are a lot of people's favorite part, or a part folks talk about a lot while they're hiking the AT.
Mm.
And since I was from here, I was really looking forward to getting back here. It felt really great to just like pop up finally above the trees.
Yeah.
You kind of don't do that for most of the trail south of here. But I also really loved Maine. I loved swimming in all of the clear ponds and lakes in August in Maine. That was cool.
That's so cool. Yeah, I imagine
That's
it must be quite. I always think of that when you see like AT hikers and stuff up here. Like it must be so interesting. Like if you're a hiker from around here, and then all of a sudden you're like, shit, like I've walked here from Georgia, like, or even if you've started from northbound, you've walked through all of Maine and the 100-mile wilderness, all those sections. Just be like, it must be a different feeling, altogether, but familiar. Like to be knowing that your 2 feet kind of carried you that way.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And we always say, like, by the time people get to the Notch in Woodstock, whether they're going north or south, they've already done so much. Like when they get here, they're pretty far in, even if they've just gone through Maine, right? That's such a huge chunk and such a difficult part of the trail that seems like most people who get here probably are going to finish the trail.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question. And I mean, I've watched a bunch of like AT documentaries and stuff too, but what do you find the most difficult, challenging part of the trail?
You know, I think actually for me, it was like interpersonal relationships with people on the trail.
Yeah, sure. That's a fair, yeah. I mean, so not even the trail itself, just dealing with the things that come with hiking the AT. Yeah.
I mean, because you're getting really close to people in a really short time. So I think it's also that I didn't expect that to be a challenge. It wasn't what I was worried about, you know. I just thought as long as my body holds up, like it's going to be a big physical challenge. But then, you know, you have disagreements with people. You don't want to move as fast or as slow as someone or stop in this town, or maybe you're kind of feeling like you don't want to hike with 1 or 2 people anymore. It's just the whole thing is just that was a lot more challenging than I expected. But
wow,
I don't.
That's like
that's
a rare aspect about this, like that I think we haven't really touched upon, Nick, in throughout this podcast, is like the mental aspect and who you're hiking with and things like that. So that's actually a really cool take to have.
Yeah, when you said you ended up with your family, like how many people did you kind of stick with, or did it sort of change? Did you have like a core group of you that kind of stuck together, and other people sort of found their own deal, or how'd that work?
People definitely moved in and out. I would say there were 5 of us that I consider kind of the core group.
Okay.
But actually, on the first day, I met someone who ended up being my partner for 2 years. We were dating. So that makes it more complicated.
There you go.
But it was me and him and 3 other guys. And then there were other folks who like came and went throughout the 6 months or so I was on the trail.
That's awesome. Every time I watch, I don't know too, if like maybe one day we do it. There's definitely sections, like I've always seen like the balds, like in Tennessee, that looks like it's absolutely gorgeous, and that seems like something. There's parts of it too where I feel like I've read about it or seen it, and I feel like it just doesn't, like Pennsylvania doesn't seem as appealing to me to go through. I'm sure the thing as a whole is different, but I think I definitely would like to get out, and me and my wife probably like section hike it probably at some point, or maybe we always say when we're retired, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. I also freely admit that I like accommodations of hotels and hostels and things like that, as opposed to just camping out all the time. So I don't know.
There's so many. You almost never have to camp if you don't want to on the AT.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where you guys fall in the Notch Hostel. Do you want to talk a little bit about that for the listeners? So the Notch Hostel is it's in North Woodstock, New Hampshire. Is it 30 guest hostel? Is that right?
Yeah, more than that in the summer when we have camping too. 35-ish, something like that.
Oh, I didn't even know you guys had camping too. That's a cool another little aspect. So do you want to talk? Do you want to kind of talk about the hostel itself for a little bit?
Sure, yeah. We are in North Woodstock and on Lost River Road. We're about equidistant from 2 different trailheads on the Appalachian Trail. So that's Kinsman Notch and Franconia Notch.
Okay.
So we kind of serve hikers from 2 different spots. We also slack pack hikers across that area. I feel like people probably know what slack packing is, but it's
I was gonna say let's dive into it.
Yeah, you can explain it.
Yeah, so that's when if somebody's through hiking, and to slack pack for a day means to not carry all your stuff for a day. So it's just some purists don't like doing it at all. But most people, I would say, do it. I did it when I thru hiked. It's just giving your back a break. And so we'll pick a hiker up. They'll stay the night. They'll leave all of their heavy stuff here. Just bring some food and water for the day. We'll drop them off again in the morning. They hike across from Kinsman Ridge to Franconia Ridge. We pick them up again. They stay another night usually. So yeah, they get to kind of have a day where they're not carrying all their stuff, and they get across kind of a challenging section. The Kinsmans are steep and difficult, kind of famously. So that's one of our main things that we do here in the summer for thru-hikers is we slack them. And we're open year round, though. We're open right now, obviously. So we just closed for 1 month for stick season and 1 month for mud season. So November and April.
Okay.
Nice. So the idea, I mean, the thing that kind of intrigued me, and the reason I kind of reached out to find out more is the idea of the hostel. The idea of, I know you guys do have some private rooms, but the idea of like this community of people that majority of which are through hiking or doing something like that in that area, kind of just sharing this space, probably eating together, hanging out together, and people that you might not know. I thought the idea of that is really cool, and it's really not something that I've thought about kind of pursuing. And do you want to talk a little bit about that aspect of the hostel?
Sure. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things about this place. It's why I ended up coming here and staying. I think, the hostel kind of communal environment is not something we do so much in America. It's more of like they have a lot of hostels in Europe, but
right.
They are on the trail, right? On the long trails. They're on the Appalachian Trail especially. So it's really cool to be an Appalachian Trail hostel that isn't just seasonal and is around year round. So I think it's really special to be kind of like fostering that community year round. And especially when I lived here for the first 2 years, I just moved off site down the street. So I'm still on the same street. But when I lived here, it's kind of wild to be, you just like be walking into the kitchen to make your eggs, like just kind of sleepy. You're not working yet. And you run into either a bunch of thru-hikers or a bunch of people gearing up to skin up a mountain in the winter, or you never know what you're going to find. And I find that I am forever just stumbling upon really interesting little groups of people who are hanging out and getting to know each other and giving each other advice or deciding to hike together that day. It's very cool to be part of that space where that all happens. I feel really fortunate.
Now, what's like the fundamental difference between like a hostel and say like a hotel or an inn or something like that?
The shared spaces. So we have 4 bunk rooms that are shared, and each bunk room has 5 to 8 beds in it that can be booked by folks in different groups. So they're not private, they're shared. And then we have a big shared kitchen, dining room, living room. In the summer, we have a bunch of porches. We have a big backyard with a fire pit. So just tons of space where you can hang with other people, and also space where you can kind of get off and be by yourself probably too if you want. We have a lot of space here. So yeah, like in a hotel, you're kind of expecting to do your own thing. You're not really expecting to interact with any other guests, right? But I think most of the people who book a shared room are open to that. So
yeah, that's very cool. And I mean, I haven't stayed at the Notch Hostel, but I know of its existence, and it seems like you guys play a huge part sort of in this wonderful White Mountains hiking community that we've sort of getting more and more into and getting more familiar with, and really fortunate to meet more and more interesting people like yourself. But did you want to talk about some of the stuff? I know there's fireside chats I've seen, but do you want to talk about some like the events and sort of these like, I guess, hiker driven like things that you guys kind of do throughout the year? Yeah,
the fireside chats are my favorite part of the winter. They're like the heart and soul of the winter for us here. It's, like the sun sets at 4:00 and it's so cold, and sometimes it feels really isolating. And even when we have a hostel full of people on the weekends. So it's really nice to have these. We have 4 or 5 a year, and They take place on Saturday nights in the winter. So we'll have speakers.
Okay.
They're usually hikers who are talking about a hiking project that they've just completed or one that they're planning, or people working in the outdoors in some capacity. Like we've had Phil Karsha works here and also is one of the like founders of the Fireside Chat. So he presents every year, usually talks about his current hiking project, which is awesome. But we also have people like, we had a SAR team come in and talk once, search and rescue. We have people coming in and talking about like diversity in the outdoors, like Marty Fuller. She just did one last week. And that was the kind of the focus of hers. So
That's awesome.
yeah. And it's just like we have a big potluck. It's free. It's free for anybody. You don't have to pay to come. So a lot of local people will just come for the potluck and the presentation and leave. Of course, we hope people will stay. We also have people who book and stay overnight. But I think it's like really nice to have a free event it always has to do with the people aren't necessarily local to Woodstock and Lincoln, but they're usually at least from New England, you know, so local-ish event that everybody can come to.
That was what caught my eye too, Nick, was the fireside chats. Like, I think that's a really cool idea. And it's cool to know, because that was my question too, is do you have to be staying there to partake in it? But like you just said, if it's free, it's for me.
Yeah, it's great. It's so try to make it accessible for everybody, you know, like, so we're kind of hoping that people in the neighborhood will just wander over. That hasn't really happened so much yet, but
just gotta start knocking on doors and inviting them in.
Yeah,
I've noticed too on some of those. Oh,
Go
sorry,
ahead,
Josh.
Nick.
I was gonna say I've noticed on some of those too. Maybe it was just the Phil Karsha one, but it seems like, do you guys do like a sunrise hike on the end of a lot of those? Because do they start like late in the night and then they kind of end like early morning and everybody's just like kind of gearing up to go first? Like how does that work? Is that a thing on every single one? There's a sunrise hike, or
it is, yes. So
cool.
Generally, pretty much always, we do a sunrise hike. So the event is at 7:30. It goes till about 9 at night. The presentation, and then we're all told by Phil and or the speaker of the night about where we're going in the morning. It'll be like, okay, tomorrow morning we're going to Cannon. We're leaving here at 3:15 a.m. sharp. Yeah. You know, boots on the ground at 4, whatever it is. And we've had a lot of people come. I go to most of them, almost all of them.
That's awesome.
It's not a lot of sleep, you know, but it's everybody's kind of psyched to be doing it together. And sometimes you get a gorgeous sunrise. Sometimes you just kind of get a gray sky. But either way, there's a lot of really nice energy.
That's sick. It must be cool too to like be like, you're kind of listening to these speakers and stuff, and must be interesting. Or like the speakers, I'm assuming, always go on the sunrise hike too, and it's kind of like they're, like you said, they dictate it. That's really neat. So you get to share the trail with them and kind of chat and stuff too the next day. That's cool.
Yeah, that's one of the best parts. You can kind of ask your questions and flesh out some of the things they talked about the night before.
Yeah. Very
That's
cool.
really cool. I see a lot of parallels, Nick, from we just talked last episode about you staying in the Zealand hut. I see a lot of parallels, except the Notch Hostel seems way more cozy and nice. That seems way more up my alley than freezing my butt off in the Zealand.
In the 20-degree bunk room at Zealand Falls hut, yeah. I can see that.
I'll do the bunk room. I'll do the bunk room at the Notch
Is that
Hostel.
the self-service that you did?
Yeah. I was up there a couple weeks ago, earlier in January, and did one overnight on a Friday, Saturday, and did a couple, hit Zealand, Z-Cliff, and made a bushwhack up to South Hale with some folks, which was interesting. I haven't done many bushwhacks, and then came out over Hale. But yeah, it was a fun time. I actually hadn't stayed at an AMC hut before, so it was a really cool experience. But yeah, it sounds similar in vibes though to like you got a shared kitchen, except it seems fun to. Probably the biggest thing that seems really nice is it seems like it's much warmer.
Yeah, for sure. We have good heat here. I've never stayed in a hut myself. I've known a bunch of caretakers and stuff. It kind of seems like the self-service is the time to do it, in my opinion. I know that it's going to be cold, but it's affordable. It seems a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely joke. I mean, I joke because it was cold, but like it was really cool. And from everybody I went with, they said it's a totally different vibe than if you're going in the summer where you got guests from everywhere and they're like making meals, and it's a little. And we actually had it basically to ourselves. There was one other hiker from the Adirondacks that was crashing in, but it was basically a group of us up there of like 6 or 7 that we all had the place to ourselves. So it's kind of cool just chilling by the fire and chatting about hiking stuff and all these random topics that come up about like Nalgene bottles in the 1980s, like not being heat tolerant up to a certain temperature and things like that you just end up talking about when you're around a bunch of hikers of varying ages. So it was a blast.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, next time though we're gonna do the Notch Hostel and go listen to a fireside chat instead of talking about anybody talking about Nalgene bottles.
I mean, that could come up at the Notch too. I could see it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hikes around the hostel too, right? It's
other than just the AT.
Nicely located.
Yep, right in the heart of the Western White Mountains. So we have Moose Lock in our backyard, basically. The Kinsman's, Cannon, Franconia Ridge is 10 minutes away. So, yeah, we're pretty well located. It's funny if you're trying to like trace the guide or do all the 4,000 footers. Some of those ones, like the presidentials, are a little bit far for us, but not still about an hour or so. So not too bad.
Yeah, it's definitely not bad at all, especially compared to like driving from Massachusetts or something.
Exactly. That's what you're used to doing, that's what I was used to doing now. None of this seems bad.
Yeah, I'm down in Rehoboth in southeastern Mass, so like the Prezzies, it's like 3.5 hours, depending where at least to the northern one. So it's kind of a bummer. I've been hashing through my winter 48. And I did want to talk about it. It looks like we heard, I believe Josh should probably poke this up, but it sounded like you did a single season winter.
Oh yeah, last winter.
Excellent. First of all, congrats on that, because that's awesome.
Congratulations, seriously.
Thanks.
You want to chat about that a little bit and that beast of a task?
Sure. Yeah, it was it was awesome. I mean, it kept me. I was actually working here and at the ice castles. I do that too.
Okay.
And so I
don't listen to the last episode. Don't listen to the last episode. Then.
Oh, I mean,
Nick went to the.
I probably don't have a problem with whatever you said.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
I'm gonna listen to it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. It's just, it's like a seasonal gig for me. So last winter I only had one day off a week, and that was what made it most difficult, because it was like, oh, you got to get up really early in the dark and go before work or go after work
Yeah.
Wow.
I did it with my friend Lila, and we did like a Prezi Traverse, and we did like the Carters and the Wildcats together, and we tried to like group them together as much as possible. But it was a lot. It was a lot of hiking for a season when you're working full time.
Yeah, I can imagine. What was the most challenging part of or parts of sort of last season? I feel like last season was akin to this season a little bit, in the fact that like New Hampshire got like rain and it dumped on. It seemed like shit was just icy for like a while from what I remember last winter out there. But it seemed like the snowpack maybe wasn't quite as bad, and not bad, but I should say as deep, I guess, frankly, as it is most years. So I don't know if that made it better or worse, or like the weather conditions or things like that. Yeah,
there wasn't a ton of snow. I feel like that made it easier in the early part of the season and the late part of the season. I had a few that felt just like spring hikes. They weren't even feeling like winter hikes. But nice. I think challenging wise, like, for me, it was like I was so limited in when I could do the hikes, and I really wanted to do them all in the winter season. So there were days that I went out that I wouldn't normally have gone hiking, Like the worst one I did was up the Tri-Pyramids, and it was kind of a snowstorm.
Kind of.
Like I can still justify it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a snowstorm.
It was a snowstorm. I lost one of my micro spikes. I kept slipping and sliding down the steep part backwards, but I had gone so far that I didn't want to turn around. So I made it and everything. Wow. But on the way out, fell through the ice multiple times.
Oh shit!
Into water.
You go Pine Bend Brook?
No. So that was our plan. This is the worst decision that we made, I think, all season, was that we were going to do Pine Bend Brook, Lila and I, and then it was snowing and we couldn't find a good place to pull over there, and we were like, we'll just go to Sabaday Brook and we'll hike that way.
Oh god,
so much more water.
I came down that this summer, and man, that was the thing. Like, I couldn't imagine going. Jeez.
It wasn't a great decision, but it was okay. We were together. We were safe. It just was miserable. And that was the kind of thing where it was like, normally I wouldn't choose to go hike on that day. I just wouldn't have done it. But since I really wanted to do the single season, I just ended up on days out on days that like just didn't have ideal weather, or conditions. So
Yeah. How'd you approach the bonds? I'm asking. So I have 4 winter peaks left. I've got isolation, and I did Zealand, but I've got Westmont, Bond, and Bond Cliff. So I'm also asking selfishly as well as just genuinely interested. It seems like there's many different approaches, not many different approaches, but there's the 2 flavors of what people choose to do when they tackle those in the winter. So I was curious which one you did.
Yeah, so I did a Z-Bonds traverse. I went from Zealand Road south to Lincoln Woods.
Okay.
Just got a ride out there in the morning, and I'd done that once in the summer, so I kind of felt like at least I knew what that would be like.
Yeah.
And how it feels less daunting to me than going out and back from Lincoln Woods, I guess is kind of the other thing a lot of people do.
Yeah. I kind of checked off Zealand when we were at the hut, and I'm probably getting, there's like 50-50 odds I'm going to come back to Zealand. And I'm like, I've already been looking at the stats for like an hour and back from Lincoln Woods just to grab Westbound. I'm like, it's going to be a long day. It's not, I know it won't be impossible, but it seems like a lot of people like to stay at the hut too and just break it up instead of doing it in one day. But I'm also not sure if I feel like carrying a sleeping bag and all that stuff with me and dragging that. I kind of would rather just not have it and just get back later and have to deal with hiking in the dark potentially.
That's where I landed. I mean, elevation wise, it's not that bad. It's long, but if you start early, I don't know. I thought it was okay. I did it on a day with good conditions. If you just wait for a good day, it might be the way to go, I think.
Yeah.
I also just feel like it's way less. I hate doing an out and back when there's a traverse option. It's like the similar distance, I think.
Yeah, it is. I think it's actually more to do an out and back than it is to traverse the whole thing, which is kind of funny. But
just it's a pain to get a ride, maybe, but it's worth it.
Now, did you cut it close as far as before calendar spring started with finishing everything?
Yeah, I did this is how I do everything in my life, but I did the last one. I think it was like a couple hours before winter ended.
That's awesome.
I went up here again. Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah. It was great. It kept me hiking all winter.
Nice. Do you have any back to the hostel, do you have any like funny stories or anything cool any cool stories that you can tell about things that you've witnessed or come across?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm having trouble coming up with a specific story about like certain people, but there's definitely a lot of funny stuff that happens regularly at the hostel. Like, generally, those of us who live here and work here in the summer together, we get really close, and something you can do if you live here is you can basically never buy food. You can just live off the hiker food that they all leave behind.
No kidding.
At first I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take the food from the hikers. But then you realize there's so much, and there's so much of the same stuff that it's okay. So we kind of do like, the show like Chopped.
Yeah.
Where they have certain ingredients and they try to make something.
I love
Chopped. Yeah.
We kind of do that here.
Love Chopped.
Yeah.
Except
it'll be like
ramen.
we have half an onion. Yeah.
Who's the best? Who's the best chef?
I think I'm pretty good. Sarah Iwata's here sometimes in the summer. She's good. Lila's pretty good at it too. We'll just there's always pancake mix. We always have that as a base. We offer that, and then whatever like veggies, fruit, ramen is obviously also a big staple. I think it's kind of fun and funny the way that we end up and a lot of times we'll make a huge meal. If there's enough stuff, we'll just make a huge meal and we'll share it with whoever's here, the hikers. And
that's awesome.
So that's a lot of fun.
And when you say hikers leaving food, is it thru-hikers leaving food there, or just people that stay at the hostel and they just leave food
both?
Food there? Both?
A lot of times it is thru-hikers, because I did this too when I thru-hiked. There's a lot of things that you buy and you don't need all of it. Like, or you go to the store, you're so hungry, you think you're going to want all this food, and then you can't actually eat it all. And the one night you're here, you can't carry it all out. So like when I was on the AT, I would always buy a 6-pack of beer at every single hostel, and I'd drink like 2 and I'd leave 4. Like a lot of people do that. Yeah. They really do. Their eyes are too big for their stomach. So they'll buy like an entire roast chicken or whatever, and then just leave it behind. So we try to make sure it gets eaten. And sometimes that means like making like chicken lasagna out of half of a roast chicken or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
I made that up, but that is something we would do.
It sounds
I
good.
bet that sounds like something I would do.
Yeah. Yeah, and
That's
along
really
the
cool.
same lines, like we just kind of it's a very close knit, and it's funny because some of the Thru-Hikers will be here for like 3 nights, and you'll feel like family by the time that they leave. It'll feel really, because maybe you cut their hair on the porch and had a bunch of meals together and like sat by the fire, and then you went and kind of rescued them from the trailhead in the rain, and by the time you're sending them off again, it's just like they've become family a little bit.
That's really cool. I always think that bond that you get with people on trail is something that's so awesome. But it's like, again, even if, for example, like if you just do a Bonds Traverse with someone, or I did a Sandwich Range Traverse with someone this past summer that I'd hiked with once previously, and like you get to know each other pretty good if you hike like 18 miles together all day. You kind of run the gamut of topics usually. And I also like always am kind of, and we both said this my friend Paul, and like we're like, hopefully like number one, like you don't turn out to be like super creepy or anything out of like that one engagement we had. And number two, I hope like you can talk or hold a conversation, but also like enough that the day goes by, but not so much that I'm like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Like, I feel like it doesn't work well with everybody. I mean, it's like saying not everybody gets along with everybody, but I think it's always cool that bond that you get being on trail. And I'm sure the same thing like you're saying with the hostel is like they're hikers, and you being an AT hiker yourself, I'm sure you're kind of like, hey, I've done this. What they're going through, like how they're feeling to a degree, what they're experiencing, and also like the fact that they're looking at getting into New Hampshire and Maine, and they've still got a lot ahead of them at that point. But like you said, that they're probably going to finish if they made it that far. But that's really cool.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. It's a really fine line when you go on those long hikes with people. I've had the same thoughts. You want somebody who can like stay positive. I think anytime you're hiking that long with somebody, you're kind of suffering together, which can either really bring you close
Right.
or it can make you kind of grumpy and not able to put up with somebody who's like talking too much. So yeah, it's tricky.
That's awesome. Anything else? Anything else you wanted to talk about, or any other thoughts that you had?
I don't know if I can think of anything in particular.
I know you guys are hiring.
Oh, we are. Yep. For this summer, we've been interviewing a bunch of folks, but we definitely are still taking applications. NotchHostel.com/job opportunities.
There you go. There's a plug for a job.
You can play Chopped with us. We can make creative meals from the hiker box. You could do a lot of dirty hiker laundry, shuttle hikers around. It is a lot of fun.
So that's, I guess, a little in behind the scenes of like what it's like to like work there, like, because when I didn't imagine like you guys are doing all that extra stuff, like driving people around and doing all that. So like, what's that all about? You guys you just said laundry?
Yeah, that's actually, that is interesting. And something, like I said, it's like, I'm so used to it, I don't realize it anymore. But yeah, so we have, for the Thru-Hikers, we have loaner clothes here. We have tons of shirts, pants, underwear, sweaters, everything, so that hikers can come and, whatever they're wearing, plus the one other outfit that they sleep in their backpack, they want to wash everything at once, right? So they're going to need something to wear in the meantime. So they basically walk in. We have like a decontamination process where we have them pick out some loaner clothes, we have them shower, we get all their dirty clothes, we wash them for them.
God, I wanted you to say like you just had an area and that you're like, go here in the yard and you just bring out like a power washer or something. You're like, let's stand here. 30 seconds will be good.
I think we would. If we had that capability, we'd do that. We basically do our version of that. So yeah, we kind of make people change and shower immediately. Shoes and backpacks aren't allowed in the house. We keep them way out in the hiker shed.
Yeah.
And that keeps the hostel clean. One of our biggest compliments we get in our reviews is that it's so clean here. It smells good, even though it's full of Thru-Hikers. So it does take some work. But yeah, we wash all their clothes for them. And we have like 10 free shuttles a day going to each trailhead into town. We drop off at the price chopper.
No kidding. Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, so the Thru-Hikers, definitely we provide a lot more services for them than we do, say, for people who are here right now in the winter. But we love it. I mean, it's so much fun, and it's almost like a whole different. The vibes are so different. They're great. Like, it's a lot quieter in the winter. It's really peaceful. We do the fireside chats. We've got this great little community. But then in the summer, it's like everything just explodes. And it's really fun and full of Thru-Hikers with insane names. And you've just got like Sour Patch Kid and whatever, like Dr. Pepper, and they've all got these like that. They're all going by their trail names and kind of being wild and having fires, and it's great.
I'm glad you brought that up again. Is it impolite to like ask people how they got their trail names, or can I ask how you got your trail name, Pearl? Like, I don't know. I don't know the protocol with these things.
No, that's not a faux pas. You can ask. People ask each other all the time. Mine is, so I started the AT in February 2020. I flew down to Georgia from Boston, and I had this big ring on. It was like a big fake pearl ring. And in Georgia, like maybe a week in, I met this woman, like a trail angel. She kind of looked like Dolly Parton, who I love. And she kind of sounded like her too, and she was just awesome. Asking me about my ring. And I told her it was my grandmother's. I forgot I had it on. I just like got on the plane, and she said, that means she's with you. And that should be your trail name, Pearl. And I was like, definitely taking that before I get one that I hate. And she asked if she could hug me, and I said, yeah, but I smell really bad. And she hugged me and she said, honey, you smell like the earth. And I was just like, my life.
Sure I do.
I did not. I smelled bad, but that's how I got the trail name. She gave it to me pretty early on, and I said, I love that. That's not, I just didn't want, there's a lot of, I'm not hating on any trail names, but some of them are gross. It'll be like Snot Rocket and Shit Stain and all stuff like that. I was like, I'll take a cute one if I can.
I remember one of the first times in the Whites that I ever crossed AT hikers. I was hiking with my buddy Mike Cordero, and we're doing Moose Lock, and it had to be like around the end of June or something, where a lot of them are going through, or maybe like mid-June. And there was like someone came up to us and they're like, have you seen my friend like Gretel? And I'm like, what do you like? That seems really odd, but their trail names were Hansel and Gretel. But it was just one of those things where, or I don't know if it was like Gretel looking for Hansel or something, but it was like just these women probably like in their 40s or whatever. And I thought that was just super awesome. But me and my buddy looked at each other like, who the hell's named Gretel? Like, and then like around here, where it's kind of funny when those things happen. But I'm like, oh, they're AT hikers. They clicked pretty immediately after that, but it was cool.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just look at our reservation system in like August. And we put all the trail names in the system because a lot of times that's the only way we know who they are. And it's just hilarious. Let's read them off to each other. It's good.
So I know like obviously you must be busy in the summer with Thru-Hikers, but say like if a day like more like myself, a day hiker who might do an overnight occasionally and stay up in the winter, like if you got there and like did an overnight, would you be able to work with like people at the Notch Hostel to like do like a ride to a trailhead in the morning, say like to do a traverse or something like that?
We generally just have like the shuttles we have, and we, if you're not through hiking, a lot of times you can still use those shuttles. That's cool, but we don't have like a shuttle service to wherever people want to get dropped off. But we do know people who are doing that in the area. Our friend Marlene has it. She goes by Allie's Rides, and that's always our first suggestion. She's awesome. So we can definitely point people to the people who can help them if they need rides and stuff.
Awesome. That's good to know. And I'm assuming that if you just like walked in and whether you're starting like say the 48 or something and you like wanted to chat with you guys I'm assuming are just a wealth of information on all those topics.
I think we are. Yeah. I love talking about this stuff. It's like, and we really want people to come here who aren't necessarily, we definitely don't want it to feel like you have to be a through hiker or you have to be some crazy experienced hiker. Like we love it when people just show up and they say, I've never hiked out here. Can you recommend something that's, 3 miles, not too much elevation? We can do that too. But we also know a lot about the 4,000 footers and we love talking about it.
Awesome.
That's awesome. It's a whole experience too. It's not obviously you're gonna save some money from staying in a hotel and you're not gonna get an experience like you're gonna get the Notch Hostel for sure.
Yeah, and it's more affordable.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to book a night or a few nights, where would they go?
They can go to notchhostel.com. That's the best way to do it.
Nice.
We're on Airbnb and booking and stuff, but it's actually the best way to do it is just right through our website. It's going to be cheapest for them and always updated availability and everything. We're going to be opening summer bookings soon, like within a week or so. So
Awesome.
Cool.
And then you said summer bookings, there's camping as well. Do you have to bring your own tent? You guys got tents? How's that work?
don't have tents. You do have to bring your own tent, but yeah, we've got lovely spaces in the backyard, grassy. Each site has its own fire pit and picnic table.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sweet. That might be a nice, easy way, Nick, to go do some camping.
This
Yeah,
is
you
true.
guys can
This is
come
true.
here.
I'm on board.
We got a couple places we got to check out this summer
I know.
now. I think
I'm
we'll
on
add that
board.
to the list
Yeah.
for sure.
We can try. We can use your tent. It's gonna be cozy. It's gonna be real cozy.
I might need to get a bigger tent.
You can message us too. We might actually have a tent we can let you borrow, but I don't know about for everybody who comes.
Yeah, for everybody else, for all the other listeners, it's off limits.
Yeah, you guys are VIPs, I can tell.
That's
Something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, as far as like the events and stuff, like fireside chats, things like that you all are doing at the Notch Hostel, like, is the best place to like follow you guys on Instagram or Facebook or all the above kind of deal?
Yeah, definitely. I think Instagram and Facebook, we kind of post the same stuff on both. So
Okay.
either one of those is good, but Instagram I think is the best.
Okay.
And I should mention briefly, you asked me if I had anything else to talk about. I have one more thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Is,
Go for it.
So in the winter, the fireside chats are the main focus. And in the summer, we mostly are too busy to be doing many events, you know? We're just like full anyway.
Yeah,
But
just chock full of hikers.
yeah, but in June, we do have Solidarity Day, which this year is going to be June 7th. And because we run a nonprofit out of the hostel, it's a separate thing, but it was like born here and we do a lot with it here. It's called Summits in Solidarity. We raise money for local organizations run by people of color that are like working to increase access to the outdoors and doing like mutual aid work, lots of different stuff.
Wow.
But so our one big event that's not in the winter is usually Solidarity Day. We have a big potluck. We often have like a movie, a speaker, and it's the culmination of our fundraiser for the year. So that's another thing, which you'll see if you follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, and I was going to say that's the same Summits in Solidarity that Phil Karsha was doing the Wachusett
Yes.
summits for, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
Phil's one of the
cool.
founders of the nonprofit, Phil and Serena.
Okay, awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I know. It kind of rang a bell when he said that, but I'm like, that's what I remember that he was doing that because I think we shared it out a few times. Because that seems just pretty. And I didn't realize it was born there. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool because it kind of we have a place where we can gather about it. You know, we don't just have to do an online fundraiser. We can actually all see each other and meet up and celebrate and, you know.
Yeah. That makes it even more
Excellent.
special. That's really cool.
Well, the Notch Hostel sounds awesome. I think we're gonna have to check it out at some point. And it was great talking to you, Tricia. Thanks again for your time. I know that you're literally on the clock too, talking to us right now.
Nothing
And I'm
happened, look at that.
also enjoying your prayer flags in the background you got there too. That's really
yeah.
cool. Awesome.
We love the prayer flags here. They're all over the place.
Looks awesome. But yeah, Notch Hostel, check them out. Seems like a great resource in the ways, to say the least. And for all of you guys doing with the community between the fireside chats and events and helping Thru-Hikers and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, it's great to talk to you.
Thank you so much. I had a lot of fun.
All right,
Thank you, Tricia.
Yes, thanks, Tricia. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so in tonight's Descent, we want to remind everybody that coming up on February 8th, the 48 Peaks is hosting a winter hiking safety event in collaboration with the Public Lands in Framingham, Mass. Congrats again to Hiking Buddies on their partnership with the Public Lands in Framingham. But it's going to be on Saturday, February 28th. This is a perfect opportunity for people who are looking to learn more about winter hiking, what to pack in their pack, and other tips, as well as how to learn how you can get involved in the fight to end Alzheimer's through 48 Peaks. So be sure to follow 48 Peaks Alls on Instagram for updates. And I imagine you can probably check out Hiking Buddies and Facebook and all those places and kind of get more information if you want to do that. And the weekend after, we have the Snow Safe Summit occurring at the Barn Door Hostel and Campground in Rumney, New Hampshire. So this 2-day event will focus on winter safety, outdoor adventures, and community engagement with opportunities to learn new skills, try winter camping safely, and engage with local vendors and leaders. I keep trying to say MWOBs, but the Mount Washington Weather Observatory Summit Operations Manager, Mike Carmen, will be a presenting speaker on Saturday, February 15th at 7 p.m., highlighting weather and forecasting on Mount Washington. And then the Lions of Winter author Ty Gagney will be discussing his new book during a fireside chat later that evening. So, check it out. Got 2 nice winter hiking safety events up. TBD whether we'll be at the Snow Safe thing. I still haven't reached out yet. That's on my list, but it's just been craziness this week. So
I know we got.
And I don't know
commitments.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on that weekend yet, without giving on in too much detail. So we'll see what's up. Yeah.
Nice.
So what you been watching? Anything good?
Yo, dog. I've been watching.
Dog.
50 the 30 for 30. Celtics, the Celtics and Lakers, 30 for 30. Obviously,
Is that about just like the history of the rivalry?
Yeah. It's really good. It's like a 3-episode series, and I think we basically made it to like 84. I think we're at like 1984.
Okay.
Bird and Magic both have won their first championships already, and I obviously, being a big time basketball fan, big time Celtics fan, and Melissa's a big time Celtics fan. Just really enjoying it. Plus, they have Ice Cube commenting or narrating for the Lakers.
Oh, that's cool.
Donnie Wahlberg narrating for the Celtics.
They couldn't get Mark.
No, I couldn't afford Mark.
Yeah,
couldn't afford Mark, but. Yeah, so I'm knee deep in that right now. It's
cool.
really good. So it's on Netflix, so check it out if you want.
Cool.
How about you? What you been watching?
Good. I've been continuing on the documentary kick, and now Ash is on the train as well after he finished the Aaron Hernandez one. So we've just been kicking through, and this one was like, it just sounded interesting, and I didn't realize what a big deal this was. But we actually are checking out. We haven't finished it yet. The documentary on the. I guess it was it was basically a site for people who wanted to have affairs, but Ashley Madison.
Oh, is it?
And
Ashley Madison.
Yeah, but it's on, and I found it kind of interesting. It perked my interest.
Watch that one.
Having been, I basically work in software for a financial services company, so I found it interesting to see how they basically got breached. But in a nutshell, without giving too much away, I guess at one point in the 2000s, they actually got hacked, and someone pretty much took all their data that they were storing on people. So basically got people's names, addresses, payment information, their actual sexual fetishes and fantasies that they had listed on the site. So they got all the dirty details, and they basically threatened to release it to the public unless Ashley Madison shut their site down, which at this point, I guess too, when they got hacked, they literally were like live in Europe, and they had like millions and millions of users. Like, I didn't realize how big it was. And I'm guessing that the information gets out. I haven't actually finished all of it yet. I'm imagining it wouldn't be super interesting if it didn't get out to the public. But we'll see what happens. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, they shut down the site, and everybody went home safe.
Well, it's still I was Googling because Ash was asking. It's still a site, so it still does exist, and it has millions of users. So it's kind of crazy, but it's been interesting to watch so far. So that's been our latest documentary that we've been checking out, and it's interesting so far. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You ready to get into a hypothetical?
Absolutely.
Nice. Right on the Ashley Madison train too. So.
Oh, good. Good.
All right, Nick.
Josh.
Every person you have ever slept with is invited to a banquet.
Oh, jeez.
Is invited to a banquet where you are the guest of honor. No one will be in attendance except you, the collection of your former lovers, and the catering service. After the meal, you are asked to give a 15-minute speech to the assembly. Nick, what do you talk about?
I probably just would talk about our hiking podcast. Like, why not? Like, why not? Why not?
I love it.
Why not?
Yeah. Would you try to like? Would you broach the subject of like?
Oh no, I would
Do you think everybody in there knows that you've had sex with them?
I would hope so.
Okay.
I mean, how would they not?
No,
how would
like
they not,
that,
Josh?
No, I'm saying like
you mean
each other. Like, do they know that they're collectively just like people that you've had sex with? You know what I mean?
To be completely honest, other than Ash, who I'm married to, who I've been very upfront with, I don't think most of the other people that I've done that with actually know each other and are aware. Not that there's a long list, but yeah, like I don't think they would know. Yeah, they probably wouldn't know why they were there.
Oh, there you go.
No, to your question. Yeah, so exactly.
So it's just awkward.
That's a fair point. I didn't even think of that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay.
What do you
talk about anything?
What do you talk about?
Oh, pyramid scheme. I would 100% try to get them on board.
Awesome.
Do I have a deal for you?
You'd be the classic guy where someone would be like, "This seems like a pyramid scheme." You'd be like, "No, this isn't a pyramid scheme.
No,
it just seems like a pyramid scheme."
The money
it's more of a rectangle.
The money goes up, but then it comes back down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's sloped like a pyramid.
Because the other thing is too, it kind of cuts the awkwardness because they're going to start walking out once they realize it's a pyramid scheme. They're just going to take off.
No, same question to you. Would most of those people know why they were there or their commonality?
A few of them might.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few of them might. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they could. Maybe they don't know that that's the thing that's tying them all together for the reason that they're there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty funny. But yeah, 100% would try to get them in some like marketing money making scheme that I would benefit from.
Nice. Nice. Oh gosh.
Oh, I'm a scumbag.
But I love you.
I love you too, buddy.
All right. Well,
all right.
I have a fresh order of stickers coming in, and I sent out a couple this week. But if you do want stickers, as always, please reach out to us. This messages on any of the social platforms or directly on Instagram, whatever, and we can get them out to you. I have a fresh bunch coming in. And you can also find stickers at Bergen, probably still, provided they haven't all gone yet. Bergen Outdoors up in Lincoln, New Hampshire.
Nice.
But yeah, what else you got, Josh?
Not much. Just make sure you like, review, subscribe. You can find us on social media at PUDs Podcast. You can watch us on YouTube at PUDs_podcast. And until next time, bippity boppity, give me the zoppity.
Bye.
PUDs Podcast was produced and recorded in Black Hat Studios by the Pud Boys. Find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving us a review and subscribing. Find us on social media, and we'll see you next time.